Welcome to the Future of Surrogacy, the podcast that explores the people, the innovations, and the ideas building the next generation of surrogacy.
When I first heard about stem cell banking, I assumed that it was basically the same thing as cord blood banking. But then I met Korbet at the Seeds conference in Atlanta, and she blew my mind. What surprised me wasn't just the science, it was realizing that stem cell banking and traditional cord blood banking are actually very different. The conversation got even more interesting when we started talking about surrogacy because the legal, logistical, and ownership questions become much more complex when the person giving birth isn't the intended parent. So today's guest is Korbet, a stem cell educator with VitalCells, a company focused on newborn stem cell banking. Korbet spends her days helping families understand the differences, as well as what current research is exploring in regenerative medicine and how families can think about preserving biological resources at birth. She works very closely with expectant parents, including intended parents pursuing surrogacy, helping them navigate both the science and the practical considerations of stem cell preservation. And when we were at Seeds, she told me something and she was like, "Oh yeah, my husband and I just shot 25,000 whatever stem cells into our faces." So I'm going to ask her about that today too. So Korbet, welcome to the Future of Surrogacy.
Well, thank you very much, Erin. And I am so happy that I ran into you at Seeds because this is what it's all about, getting the proper education so that intended parents can make those informed decisions. I've been in this space for over a decade, and I've come to find out there's a lot of people that don't even realize they can do this. The conversation has evolved in the last 30 years, and in the last 7 years, it's really changed. So it's really good to be on podcasts like this and to spread the word so intended parents, expecting families can make that informed decision before the birth of their baby, and they know all the ins and outs of what this means.
Hugely. And so the majority of our audience are the professionals in surrogacy. So what I would imagine, like, hey, agency owners, this is something that you can educate your intended parents on. So let's start there because I saw you across the conference hall and I was like, oh, okay, cord blood banking. All right, I get it.
Mhm.
And then when I talked to you, that you were blowing my mind. So let's just go through the major difference right out the gate about when people hear stem cell banking. Like me, I'm guessing most assume that it's the same thing as cord blood banking, but what's the difference? Explain it to us.
Okay. Yes. So your there's another cord blood bank is 99% of the people that it's the same reaction.
Okay.
So let's break it down a little bit. So if you think about this, 35 years ago is when cord blood banking was established.
Right.
It was established for the purpose of storing a child's cord blood. And in that cord blood is a type of stem cell that is used for transplant medicine. So it is used to replace somebody's blood and immune system that has a cancer. And so a donor stem cell would be infused into the person that has cancer. They would engraft in the bone marrow and they would build a brand new blood and immune system for that person. So if you were looking at banking your child's stem cells for their own use, if they have cancer, they would need to use a healthy stem cell to replace their blood and immune system.
Somebody else's.
Somebody else's stem cell.
Okay.
That is a huge misconception in cord blood banking.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking like, oh, cord blood, I'm giving their future selves a healthier self in cord blood banking. That's what I always thought.
Yep. And there's a lot of information out there that doesn't go into the full explanation of it. But that type of stem cell is a hematopoietic stem cell. It is a blood and immune system stem cell, meaning it builds that child's entire blood and immune system. It's a leftover in the blood that's inside the umbilical cord. And the industry started about 35 years ago offering that option for expected parents to say, hey, we're going to send this in a private cord blood bank. We're not going to donate it to a public bank. That way, if someone in our family were to get a blood cancer, we've invested in something that they could use.
So you're saying if I did that for my kiddos, they wouldn't use their own. They would have to use somebody else's that is genetically related to them.
Bingo.
Okay.
So it could be a matched sibling.
Okay.
Or possibly a mom and dad.
Okay.
Here's the caveat to that. Those type of stem cells cannot be grown out. So whatever's left in that umbilical cord is what that family or that child has. I'm not a medical doctor, but when you look at the research, it shows that anybody over the weight of about 44 pounds, there's not enough hematopoietic stem cells or cord blood left in that private bank for anyone to use. So
Wow.
even if a matched sibling or a mom or dad were to get a lymphoma or leukemia, they wouldn't be able to use that stem cell for a full transplant because there's not enough stem cells to replace somebody's blood and immune system.
Okay, so
You're
cord blood banking, what you harvest at birth is what you have. And if you're
Yes.
over 44 pounds, it's really not going to do you any good.
You could still use it, but you would still have to go to a donor's bank to find a matched hematopoietic stem cell to put with those stem cells. So you're still back to square
Like,
one.
you can do like a cord blood cocktail. Like you can mix and match. Okay,
Yeah.
as long as they are matches. Okay.
Yes. Now, one other thing to mention on that is it's been around for about 35 years. If you look at all of the cord blood banks in the US, there's around 1.5 million samples stored in these banks. So 1.5 million families have this source in their banks. For transplant medicine, maybe around 200 have been used in all of 35 years
Wow.
because of the limitations. There's about 86 different FDA approved uses, and most of them are rare blood cancers, some different types of anemias,
Okay.
some immune disorders that can be used as a transplant medicine. However, the limitations are you can't grow them out. It can't be the child itself. It has to be a matched family donor, and 25% of the time, there's no match at all. So there's just a lot of limitations. One more limitation that is when these samples are taken out and thawed, there is contamination sometimes in these samples that the families don't know, and maybe the cord blood bank didn't know as well after when they put them in. They should know, but they didn't know, so they're not usable stem cells. So there's just a lot of limitations when you're thinking about cord blood banking. It was great 35 years ago,
Hmm.
but time and science has evolved and it's shifted into a more advanced banking situation, and we'll discuss that today.
Okay, I've got one more question because I feel like I heard this maybe a decade ago. But if a person is comprised of multiple ethnicities, like a Tiger Woods, that would be it's a much harder match.
True. Yes.
Okay.
And so if that is your situation, you do want to save the cord blood because to go to a public bank to find a match is going to be more difficult to
Yeah.
do that. But it still doesn't solve for the limitations of the usability of those stem cells because public banks are limited in what they store. There has to be around 120 cc's of blood that is sent into a public bank. The average cord blood bank gets is about 60. So they require double. They also require a health background in that person that is publicly donating that cord blood sample. Tattoos. Have you been out of the country in a certain amount of time? Do you have anxiety? Do you have depression? That all comes into play when you're filling out paperwork to publicly donate that sample. So I would say 70% of these samples that get sent to a public bank get tossed. So if you have a multi-ethnicity situation in your body, in your pathology, then there's probably a very small amount of those type of stem cells that you're going to be matched to in a public bank.
Got it.
So that's why they say storing those in a private bank is going to be your best bet. However, they don't talk about the limitations and really the usability of that cord blood.
Yeah. Okay. Wait. Now you said something else too. Like, why would cord blood be tossed out if you have a history of like depression? Because depression doesn't travel in the blood.
I
Okay.
have no idea why, but they go into very in-depth medical history of that person. And I think it's because you're giving someone your DNA.
Yeah.
And when you are doing chemotherapy and radiation to ablate your body, it's getting rid of essentially your whole immune system, the
Yeah.
good, the bad, and it's making room for a brand new healthy stem cell to be entered into your body. And when you do that, the person that had the cancer that's getting that healthy stem cell is that person no longer has their own DNA, no longer has their own blood and immune system. They take on the DNA of that donor stem cell.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of history that they want to know just
Totally.
because it's
I know.
safety.
This is so funny. My husband just had shoulder surgery. He broke his arm mountain biking, and they had to use a donor tendon. And so somebody's hamstring tendon that they put in his shoulder. We call him Jake. And so now when my husband's being a turkey, I'm like, okay, Jake. You know,
That is hysterical.
Yeah.
Jake, his shoulder's name is Jake now.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, so that's cord blood banking. Okay, tell us the difference about like vital cells and what you all do differently than like, the misconceptions we all have about cord blood banking.
So VitalCells came to market about 3.5 years ago. And the idea was to solve for the cord blood banking limitations. Our parent company is American Cell Technology. We started out as an adult stem cell bank. So, all of us that have these injuries and have these diseases, and we maybe want to use stem cell therapy to get to the bottom line of what's causing that disease or injury,
Mhm.
we don't have our newborn stem cell saved because that wasn't an option when we were around.
Mhm.
So, this fast thing for that is to get your own stem cells from your adipose fat. They are not considered a newborn stem cell. They're all actually adult stem cells, but a newborn stem cell is your day zero stem cell. But if you didn't have the opportunity to do that at birth from your umbilical cord, your next best stem cell is from your adipose fat. So we call it a mini lipo. It's a harvest, and they take about 25 cc's of fat, and that fat sample gets sent to our bank, American Cell Technology, and we extract your adult mesenchymal stem cells out. So whether they're 50-year-old stem cells or 80-year-old stem cells, there are still regenerative properties or capabilities of that stem cell. You'll just be using more of them because
Older.
they've aged with you.
Yeah.
But the cool thing about those stem cells, they're trapped in your fat. So they only turn over once every 7 years. So they are aging with you, but they're not worn out like a bone marrow stem cell.
Mm.
When you skin your knee or your husband's shoulder was hurt. I know he has Jake now, but before, what's your husband's name?
Jamie.
Jamie. Before Jamie's shoulder, his bone marrow stem cells were coming out all day long to try to heal that shoulder.
Mhm.
The problem with it is they're overworked, they're depleted in numbers because they try to heal us every single day. It could be a skin knee, it could be a migraine, it could be Jamie's hurt shoulder, whatever it is, they're trying to heal our body because that's what they're meant to do.
Mhm.
These stem cells are the connective tissue. So they're your bones, your cartilage, your fat. They built your vascular system, all of your organs. The mesenchymal stem cells, that's what they do. That's what they did in the womb. So they're stored in your adipose fat, they're stored in your bone marrow, and they're also obviously were left over in the umbilical cord. So our bank focused for years on the stem cells from the adipose fat. We had the advanced technology to be able to grow these stem cells out, and we had the relationships with the top regenerative medicine clinics all over the US. So why were we not offering this to newborns as well? Knowing the limitations of cord blood, knowing people are paying for this investment
Right.
to be stored in the cord blood bank, but they're not able to actually use these for their child itself, for regenerative medicine, where everything is today, we should offer this on the newborn side as well, and we'll market it as VitalCells. It's all one company, American Cell Technology. That's the name of our lab. We service all of the United States. However, we market the newborn side as VitalCells because it's a little bit of a different education piece. And we chose not to focus on cord blood because we knew the limitations and we knew that there was a different type of stem cell that's left over in the lining of the umbilical cord tissue. It's in the Wharton's jelly, and it's called a mesenchymal stem cell. And those stem cells they don't replace a blood and immune system. Their purpose is to take inflammation out of the body, help reset the immune system, and then they can help the body repair itself. And they're your own biology, they're your own pathology. They built you.
Mhm.
But somewhere along the way, something went wrong, right? You got a disease for some reason. Usually it's because of inflammation. Or if you have an injury, it's usually orthopedic or maybe neurodegenerative, which is your immune system. Something went wrong along the way. But if we could take your preserved day one stem cells that is the best in their stem cell life they'll ever be. There's no contamination. There's no aging to those stem cells. They're frozen in time. They haven't been exposed to a bad diet or inflammation. If we can take a bolus of those and infuse those back into your stem cells, they know what to do. They built a human body.
Mhm.
So they can help your body repair itself in a more natural way and get to the root cause of that condition so that hopefully you're not on a pharmaceutical the rest of your life, or maybe you didn't have to have the surgery because your own stem cells actually healed that injury.
Okay, there's a couple of things you said that I just want to clarify. So, number one, the adipose fat does that exist in the stomach, butt, and muffin top? And can we take more out in our mini lipo procedures?
That's a great question, and that's hysterical. So, actually, the healthiest stem cells are from someone that does not have a muffin top
Okay.
because remember, everything you put in your body affects your stem cells. The environment affects our stem cells. So if you have a big muffin top, maybe you're not the healthiest person. Doesn't mean those stem cells can't be used. We do it every single day. We release stem cells to people that have muffin tops. But the healthier you are when you get harvested, the better quality those stem cells are going to be. So oftentimes, some of our clinics will say, "Hey, you're 40 to 50 pounds overweight. Let's get you a little healthier before we harvest your stem cells, maybe for the next 6 months, and then we'll go in and do a harvest." So that way you get a healthier version of your stem cells.
This is like a win-win. I'm just like totally sidetracked for like selfishly. Like this is you can like, hey, I'm not getting lipo. I'm just harvesting stem cells. Like that's just a
That's what I'm thinking. So I had mine done.
yeah, okay.
And so you lay on your stomach and they actually take it from your love handle area in your upper back.
Great.
I was like, "Oh, this is fantastic." My doctor was in Colorado and he took a little bit from both sides. For about a year, I could feel a little divot, but there's not enough
Yeah.
fat extraction for you to be able to tell, but that would be fantastic. But it is funny, you can feel a little divot in that area. So I guess that's what you feel if you get a whole full-blown
Lipo.
lipo. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it literally goes away.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. Okay, so the one thing you kept saying is like, so these stem cells are second best to cord blood banking because they can't rebuild a full immune system, but they can aid in the support of an immune system. I just want to make sure I have that clarification right.
That's a great question. So let's take a step back.
Okay.
So if you're needing to rebuild a brand new blood and immune system because of a cancer, you must use a donor cells and they must be a hematopoietic stem cell. That's their whole function, to rebuild someone's blood and immune system. And so if you were to get a cancer, you would not have those type of stem cells in a bank like VitalCells because we don't focus on that type of stem cell. We focus on the mesenchymal stem cell, which is a connective tissue stem cell. So it cannot replace a blood and immune system. However, what we found through the years is it does work on your immune system.
Okay.
And that brings up another topic is, well, if it works on your immune system, we have a lot of people that are going out of the country and getting an unrelated donor stem cell and getting those infused and coming back saying, "I used an umbilical cord stem cell from Mexico." Well, if it works on your immune system, it doesn't replace it, but it just helps reset it. You're using somebody else's DNA, somebody else's pathology. You're infusing that into your own body. The idea of regenerative medicine is using the stem cell over a period of time. So that stem cell goes into your body and it regenerates new tissue. It helps the immune system. It keeps the inflammation out of your body. But that doesn't happen overnight. It's regeneration. So it happens over time. If you use someone else's DNA, they're not going to stay in your body as long to work to the full regeneration capability of what that stem cell can do. Will you get something from it? Probably, but not the full amount as if you were to use your own stem cell. Because if you use your own pathology and infuse that back into your body, it works in conjunction with your body the way it's supposed to. Your body likes it. It's like,
Okay.
oh, I have 100 million of my stem cells and it's coming to help me. And it stays in the body longer to do what it's supposed to do. So if you use your own stem cells, whether it's a 50-year-old stem cell from your adipose fat or a newborn stem cell, which is the best to use, you're going to get the best results.
Okay, so let's go down those two paths. So I just turned 48. If I go in and harvest my stem cells now, how long after harvest can pump back into my body to ease inflammation, for example?
Yes. Yes. And I can tell you from personal experience, I have done that. So I got my 51-year-old stem cells harvested.
Mm-hmm.
And because I didn't have my own newborn stem cells. And what we do at our bank, which makes it very unique from any bank in the United States, is when that sample, whether it's coming from my adipose fat or the umbilical cord, we call it a source, comes to our bank, we extract these stem cells from either one of those sources, and then everything else is run the same. We process them, and then we put them in an environment where they naturally self-replicate. And we make a working cell bank of those cells. And we do contamination, viability, and sterility testing on those cells. Once we know they can be grown out from the beginning, which is a requirement because there's not enough stem cells in your adipose fat or the umbilical cord from a newborn baby to be able to be used even one time for stem cell therapy. At most, there's 3 million.
Yeah. Okay. So they have to grow and multiply.
We have to grow them, we have to multiply them. I tell people, think of that working cell bank as a sourdough starter. Once you have a sourdough starter, you can make the bread anytime you need to, as long as you keep it.
Sometimes I just have a tiny little bit of my starter left and it still works.
Think of that as a working cell bank at our bank. So we can grow on demand. As long as we keep that working cell bank healthy, we can pull throughout your entire lifetime, throughout an entire child's lifetime, and make more cells on demand when you need them. And so when you're talking a 48-year-old stem cell, going back to your original question, versus a newborn stem cell, yes, we can make that working cell bank for you. And then you could use those stem cells maybe once a year, maybe every 6 months to infuse into your body. It's a simple 20-minute infusion, just like you have any infusion at an infusion center.
B12 shot.
Vitamins.
Yeah.
We ship them out as a live stem cell. They get put in an infusion bag and then they infuse in your body. They will help take inflammation out of your body, or they do take inflammation out of your body and help reset the immune system. So talking from a personal experience is I had my 51-year-old stem cells done. My husband had his 50-year-old stem cells done. And the idea of doing that, and we want to do it every 6 months to keep the inflammation out of our body. So it's really for health and wellness purposes, so that if we have an autoimmune condition sitting in there and it hasn't come out yet, like I probably have rheumatoid arthritis, pretty sure it runs rampant in our family. My thought process is if I can use my stem cells every 6 months to keep the inflammation down, maybe I won't get it.
Right. And there's so many, inflammation causes what are some of the other diseases or conditions?
Arthritis, Crohn's disease, lupus, and they're now thinking that autism, we don't know for sure, we're now thinking that autism is a form of inflammation that's in your brain. And so if these stem cells do a great job of going anywhere, so they travel to the site the area that needs help through cell-to-cell signaling. So if you have a Crohn's disease, you've got stem cells in your intestines. That stem cell, when it gets infused and it goes to your heart and your lung first, it goes back and forth, back and forth. So they're really good at heart and lung for damaged tissue purposes because it's going there first. But then it goes out systemically into your body. Through cell-to-cell signaling, it knows where to go because there is a cell somewhere in your body saying, I'm not healthy, something's wrong, I need help, I need to fix. Pharmaceuticals can't fix that cell. But when you use your own stem cells, they will travel to that area, take the inflammation even more out in that area so that your body can heal itself. If that inflammation is gone, your body can work better.
Yeah. Okay. That's amazing. Okay. Let's pivot a little bit over to the kind of the surrogacy side, because why should agencies be talking to their intended parents, or at least putting something about VitalCells into the information packet that's going out to intended parents?
The reason why you would want to bring this up is because there are a lot of misconceptions out in this market about stem cells and cord blood. That's number one. Number two is there's a lot of parents that don't even know this exists.
No kidding.
And the whole goal of this is to get information out to these families so that they can make an informed decision on whether this is right for their family or not. I can't tell you how many people I talk to, maybe on their second or third child, and they say, gosh, I wish I would have known this for my first child. I would have done it, but I had no idea. No one brought it up to me. Or my agency or my OB or my clinic brought up cord blood banking. I thought that was my only option. I didn't know this existed. I found you guys from a podcast. I found you from a Google ad. And the marketing on cord blood banks is tremendous. It's huge. I get a lot of that marketing to them. And what I tell people is don't be confused by the big gimmicks, by the big discounts. What you want to look at, and agencies should really focus on the education piece of here's your options. Go make some phone calls, have a definite yes or no before that child comes. Doesn't matter what it is, but just know that you have these options. And the decision's made from the intended parents at that point. But if they can get proper education, it does allow them to make a more of an informed decision. And what these families want to focus on is the usability of these cells. Where can they use them? How can they use them? If their child were to get something, are they going to be limited of how those stem cells can be used? How many stem cells does that child actually have? Stem cells are what these regenerative medicine clinics focus on, the number of live stem cells. If that bank can't tell you the amount of live stem cells that you could actually get back to use,
Right.
don't do it.
Right.
I mean, it's just,
Okay.
you're just throwing your investment away. This is a big health investment, and it's a health investment that you're making for the entire lifetime of your child. So the usability is number one. Number two is, how many live stem cells do I have? Can they be used today? Do we have to wait for any kind of FDA indications? Are we waiting for future technology? All that comes into play. And so the idea of these agencies talking to these families second trimester into third trimester, when you're choosing your pediatrician, when you're taking the tour of that hospital or wherever you're going to be delivering the baby, this should be introduced as, hey, and also you should make a decision on whether you're making the baby's cord blood or stem cells. And so that's why we're doing what we're doing, is going to seeds conferences, going to men having babies, being on podcast. I talk to a lot of agencies and I get, oh, well, no one even asked about it. Well, they're not asking about it because they just don't know, or they just
Know
don't
to ask
understand.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think we've gotten to the point of the science and the usability of these stem cells where it's time to let families know, hey, this is an option now.
You said or cord blood or stem cell. And is it always or is it sometimes and? Can you do both?
It's a great question. You can do both.
Okay.
You can do both. And I will tell you, most cord blood banks offer the option to store that cord tissue. They started offering that about 16 years ago, because remember, the cord tissue is what has the mesenchymal stem cells in it. There's a few mesenchymal stem cells in the blood, but for the most part, they're in the cord.
Okay.
So about 16 years ago, these cord blood banks knew they were there. They knew there was a different type of stem cell they could be focusing on. They knew the most important thing was get that cord tissue into their bank. They're not going to process it like the blood because they don't have the technology to do that, but at least the families had the resource if they ever needed it. So they do that. However, they don't prepare them for use. So for 16 years, these families have paid for a little bit of the processing, even though it didn't get processed from the cord tissue. They paid for the storage of that cord tissue along with storage of the blood, because they're stored separately. But they can't use it because, again, these cord blood banks the technology is focused on cord blood. They don't have the technology for the cord tissue. And so if they ever get the technology to be able to do that, they're going to be taking a frozen piece of tissue out of their bank that these stem cells have been in, and they will likely have issues when they try to extract stem cells from a frozen piece of tissue. So you can do both, and you can do both at a cord blood bank, knowing that you cannot use those cord tissue stem cells, and you will be paying for a processing fee if they ever get the technology to do it, and you won't know what that is up front, and you don't know if they're actually healthy or can be used. If you choose to store the mesenchymal stem cells at our bank, and you still want to have that safety of the cord blood, absolutely. The cord blood is actually extracted from the umbilical cord before it's sent to the bank. So the provider has a special cord blood bag. After the umbilical cord has been clamped and cut, they will extract from the main vein the leftover blood from the umbilical cord. It goes into a cord blood bag, gets put into the kit, and then they take the umbilical cord and they put it in a cord tissue cup, and that gets sent to the bank. So two different sources coming through, a cord blood source and the umbilical cord.
Okay.
So yes, the umbilical cord can be sent to us, and the cord blood can be sent to a cord blood bank.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes people do that.
Okay. And then, so why wouldn't somebody do that? Is it cost?
The cost,
Okay.
yeah. It could be up to $1,500 upfront fee and $200 or $300 a year to keep that stored. And if you look at how many people have used it in 35 years, 200 out of $1.5 million, is it really worth?
Right.
Honestly, if it were me and my family members, you're better off going to a public bank and getting a match.
Yeah. Okay. So best practice would be umbilical cord gets sent to VitalCells, and if you ever need blood, you go to a public bank.
Yes. But when you talk about the surrogacy side of things, it does bring a little bit more into the conversation, because you're talking about intended parents, a surrogate, the medical team, the legal team. So everyone has to work together in the right and legal and proper way. So it does bring another conversation into the mix. Attorneys need to be involved in the process, because you got to have the legal side of things of who owns these stem cells, who can actually use these stem cells, right? That's something we don't have a part of, but that's something your legal team can have a part of. So that
walk me through that part. So Intended parents create an embryo that has their DNA, and that gets put in surrogate, and surrogate grows this baby, and
Mhm.
then the
Mesenchymal. Good job.
mesenchymal
Mhm.
cells can be harvested from the umbilical cord at birth. And so what you're saying, an attorney needs to be involved because those are surrogates stem cells?
They are not. But
Okay.
so I think it can be very simple
Okay.
and right. So you think about it this way: the egg and the sperm is the stem cells come from the egg and the sperm, but they build a
Thank you for
human.
how is a baby made, Korbet?
There you go. Egg and the sperm meet, and so those stem cells are from egg and sperm. But
Okay.
whenever they start developing a human, those stem cells are unique to that
Human.
human, to that child.
Yeah.
So the child owns those stem cells. So it really doesn't matter where the egg or where the sperm came from. And yes, they play a role in developing that child, but those stem cells are unique to that individual. There's nobody else with the same pathology, the same DNA as that stem cell for that child. So the child legally owns those stem cells because that is their pathology and their biology. The parents of that child are the legal custodians until the child turns 18. When the umbilical cord is collected, it's collected after birth. So the baby has been birthed, the placenta has been birthed, and you cut the umbilical cord and you clamp it. That umbilical cord either goes into the
Waste.
biohazard waste, or you put it in a collection kit to be sent to our bank. So that process happens after birth. So should legal be involved? That's,
I think it does make sense to have legal involved because obviously you want to dot every I and cross every T in terms of these contracts to make sure that everybody knows like that umbilical cord is going to be sent to VitalCells so that the stem cells can be harvested.
right. Now, there's one more piece to it. Stem cells are the baby's own stem cells, but the person carrying the baby could give an infectious disease to the child they're carrying. So we check for infectious diseases from the person carrying the baby. So that a maternal blood draw is not required. Typically, the surrogate's already gone through all of this, right? They wouldn't be carrying the baby if they had HIV or Hep C. So they can definitely opt out of it. And some do, some don't because they want to just have the extra precaution. Again, it comes with it. It's not an extra charge. So at the hospital, if the intended parents want, that surrogate would have a blood draw. Everything comes in the collection kit. It's easy. They're delivering the baby. The nurse just does a simple blood draw, puts that blood tube inside our kit. Once we get it, we ship it out to a contracted blood lab that checks for infectious disease. If there is infectious disease, it doesn't mean that stem cell is not healthy. Stem cell is likely very healthy. However, if the child were to have that infectious disease, child can still use those stem cells. Because remember, we're not replacing anything. Those stem cells are just helping the body work better. But if that child were to get healed or cured of that infectious disease, we wouldn't want that child anytime during their lifetime to use those stem cells because those stem cells have that infectious disease in it, and it would reintroduce that disease back into the body. So for extra precaution, we do that to make sure everybody is covered. So let's say that child has hepatitis C and never gets a cure of it. That child can use those stem cells because they have hepatitis C currently. The stem cells have hepatitis C. We're not trying to cure the hepatitis C. We're trying to help your body heal from injury and disease. But if they ever got cured of it, we would actually ask, hey, you had your newborn stem cells. They had hepatitis C in them. Now you're cured and you're 50 years old. Let's get a harvest of your stem cells and now at 50 years old is what we would ask.
Okay. My mind works in metaphors. And so whenever you're talking about stem cells now, it feels to me like it's ibuprofen on steroids for your body.
I think of them more as a steroid injection or steroids on steroids.
Steroids on steroids.
Steroids on steroids. Because think about it. If you have a virus and you don't have a bacterial infection, but you have a virus, and you're having a hard time getting over it, typically it's because of the inflammation in your body. So if you take steroids, it goes away faster. The steroids are taking away the inflammation in your body and letting your body heal. Or if you have a hurt knee, How many times have you heard I went to get a steroid injection
And
so I could run the marathon or I could finish whatever I was doing? It always comes back. But at that point, it takes the inflammation out at that point so you're able to function. That's what these stem cells do on a natural basis. I mean, they take the inflammation out of your entire body.
and how long? So you said you and your husband are going you want to go every 6 months. So if I get an infusion of my own stem cells just to say I am training for a half marathon and I had my knees are hurting. And so I want to get an infusion. How long will that last?
It's a good question. Everyone's different. So you could do a stem cell infusion. One person, they could feel the difference in a week. One person, they might not feel a difference in a month, 3 months for someone else. From the current research, they take a little bit longer than a steroid shot or injection to kick in. What the research shows, typically they're out of your body within 3 to 4 months, maybe 6 months, again, depending on how your body is with that stem cell. And that's why we call it personalized stem cell therapy, because you're taking your own molecule, putting it back in your body to work with your pathology. And you are going to get the results from that molecule based on your body. Comparing that with a pharmaceutical or a steroid injection or a high cholesterol medication, that is one molecule, and you're giving it to, let's say it goes out to 5,000 people. All those 5,000 people have different molecules in their body because they're made up of a different DNA. But you're wanting that one molecule to do the same thing on 5,000 people. Doesn't work that way.
Right.
That's why everyone gets different side effects. It works differently on everybody. So if you can take your own molecule and put it back in your body to help your body do the work, that's the best insurance policy you could possibly have. Is it the end all be all? No. But you're not putting a foreign molecule into your body and expecting that to work just like everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. So this is what I'm learning from you, and you can tell me if like yes, Aaron, or no, Aaron. Is okay, if you have some kind of an acute injury, it can be used for that, but it might take longer to kick in. But like best practice feels like just get into a natural rhythm of infusing your own stem cells back into your body to be constantly reducing inflammation and letting your body operate at the highest levels it possibly can be.
Yes, that's it. Now, on an acute injury, again, I'm not a medical provider, but if you do that on a regular basis, you won't need to do the acute as much because your body will feel better. And think about this too, like if you're having like arthritis, your knees hurting, your shoulders hurting all the time, it could be due to an injury. So doing a localized stem cell injection might be all that you need. And you might have to do it once, you might have to do it twice to get the full effect or full benefit from that. However, it could be due to a neurodegenerative arthritis. So your immune system's not working properly, you're working out, but it's really your immune system that's causing you to get hurt. So we have clinics that will do direct injections into the site of injury. They'll also do a small amount of IV infusion. So then you get a systemic and a direct injection into the local site area. So you're
Yeah.
covering all your bases, if you will.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So walk me through like cost and timeline and stuff. How does that work? If an attendant parent is thinking about doing this, like what are they looking at cost wise?
So you look at three different financial obligations.
Okay.
The first is to pay for the initial processing, and it's $4,500.
Okay.
That is a guarantee that we can grow those stem cells out. We will make a working bank of those stem cells, and they are free of contamination, viability, and sterility. It takes us 2 to 3 months. If for some reason, and it can happen, and this is why you want to know this up front, if those stem cells don't grow out, they start dying. It's very rare, but it does happen. We give your money back because you can't use a dead stem cell. So we refund your money. We do offer payment plans, and we offer to help with the logistics of getting that from an escrow account. So knowing this early on, it's good because you can fund it through your escrow account, and then that can be paid to VitalCells.
Okay.
And that's something that legal and your agency and everyone's involved, we can just help with the logistics of getting that to us. The second financial agreement is a yearly fee of $350 to keep that stored.
Mhm.
And then the third part of it is usable stem cells. We know you have usable stem cells from the sourdough starter, but we want you to be able to use those for a lifetime. So when you need stem cells, you're going to order those from your client portal, and we're going to take a little bit from your working cell bank and regrow again. Our goal is for anyone that banks with us to never run out of stem cells. We do everything in vials of 10 million, and every vial is $500. So essentially, it's $500 per 10 million stem cells for us to regrow and send to you. Takes us 3 weeks. And And we do a quick contamination viability sterility testing on those again before we send them out. And once we send them out, they have to be infused within 72 hours because they're a living organism and they will die. On average, 30 to 40 million are going out for a stem cell therapy, whether it's through an IV infusion or a direct injection. But most of our releases are coming from adults because we have more adults stored and more adults have things going on in their body.
Right.
So remember, my comment is if you use your adipose fat stem cells, they're still great. You're just going to use more of them. But when you talk of newborn stem cells, they're more powerful because they're stored at day one and you'll be using less of them.
Got it.
So as time goes on and we release more of these newborn stem cells, that average might go down to 20 million. So you might only need two vials.
Okay, now I have another question. So I decided to do this. Am I doing an infusion on a regular basis starting at a certain age?
As you get older is when your stem cells start depleting. So think about it. It takes an adult longer to heal from an injury. It takes us longer to heal from a bacteria infection. The reason it takes us longer to heal is because our stem cells don't work as good as they did when we were a child.
Yeah.
And they start depleting in numbers. And we've had a bad diet and we have lots of inflammation in our body because the environment is just everything. We have everything against our stem cells. That's also the reason why we age. We are a stem cell.
Yeah.
And so if you think about it, the healthier people are, they age more gracefully because their stem cells are healthier.
Yeah.
If you have someone that smokes, that drinks a lot, they typically look older. Well, it's because all of that has affected the health of those stem cells. Most adults that do this, they typically have a condition already that they're wanting to use the stem cells for.
Yeah.
They've had Crohn's disease and they've been on a Crohn's medication their whole life. They still have Crohn's, and if they quit taking that medication, it gets worse.
Right.
But if you could take your 50-year-old stem cells, get them harvested, and infuse those, they can actually go to the intestines and rebuild the damaged tissue that's caused from the inflammation of the area to start working properly. We release for that all the time. People are getting off of their medications, and they've had Crohn's for 30 years. Does it happen with everybody? No, but it's another health resource you have to work on these conditions.
This all sounds amazing. What's coming? Like, is there anything that, like, in the stem cell world, like in 5 years, what do you think will be happening if anything different?
We know these stem cells work. We don't have a really strict protocol of where do you start? How many do you start with? At what age? How long have you had the medication? There's a lot of IRB studies going on, which is called an institutional review board. They're not using these studies to take to the FDA to get a new drug indication because it's not a drug. It's a medical procedure. But what these studies will allow us to do is establish a starting protocol for certain conditions. So like for Crohn's disease, if I went to the doctor, in the next 5 years, it would be great to say, okay, this is our starting protocol if you're using stem cell therapy for Crohn's disease. Right now, we don't have that. We're now using it for conditions like this, but we need to get to the point where let's establish these protocols, and these IRB clinical trials that these clinics are doing will help.
That's just so cool.
Yeah. So that's stem cells itself. I will tell you most of the time, if you have a chronic condition, these clinics are using stem cells along with other modalities.
Mm-hmm.
Could be PRP. It could be exosomes. Exosomes are a derivative of stem cells. So next 5 years, we might find that, hey, we should be doing exosomes with every stem cell injection because exosomes are the message carrier from the stem cells. Think of a UPS driver. They actually take the stem cells where they need to be at a quicker pace. So if someone's not getting relief for 3 months, could exosomes actually give you relief faster because they're getting to the site faster? They're working on it. It's there. People are doing it. So how we use the stem cells, what we use them with, what modalities do we do it with, what therapies do we add to it?
Yeah, okay.
Well, some people use exosomes by themselves. Exosomes are a lot smaller than a stem cell. So some people claim, hey, they can cross the blood-brain barrier better. So that if you have a neurologic condition, the exosomes can actually get in there. Can they carry the stem cell into your brain better because they can cross that threshold? Some people say yes. Those are the things that we haven't. It's not a known fact yet, right?
Okay. So I'm like, okay, great. I'm getting a shipment in. Do you recommend where I go to get them infused? How does that work?
Great question. There's two sides to that. You can go wherever you want to get this infused. So if you have a clinic in your area that you have a relationship with, feel free to put that clinic down of where we're going to be shipping those stem cells, and you have an appointment with them and you can do it. Or if you don't have that situation, you can call me and say, hey, Korbet, I really think I should be using stem cells for XYZ. I live in this area. I don't even know where to go. We have a database as of right now of about 350 clinics that we work with. And so we can give you a recommendation of a clinic in your area, and you can have a consult with that clinic to make sure it's a good fit for you. And then we go from there. So either way, you can go to the clinic of your choice, or we can give you recommendations.
Okay. Um, random question, because you mentioned putting this in your face. What does it do for your face?
So people in cosmetic surgery, they're putting stem cells during the cosmetic surgery. So
Oh,
it's going to help
low.
recovery.
Yeah. Okay.
It's going to help it could possibly help whatever you're doing to your face stay longer, whatever it might be. But it's really right now they're using it really for the recovery side of it and to get longer lasting results.
Okay. Korbet, last question. I don't know if you listen to this podcast, but we always have a magic wand at the very end. And so I'm going to give you a magic wand, and you can wave it over any portion of stem cells, whether it's like fixing a misconception or inventing something new. But if I give you a magic wand as it relates to stem cells, how would you use it?
My magic wand would be that every intended parent knows what choices they have, they are educated, and they can make that informed decision of banking these stem cells. That's number one. The second would be that they are truly educated on the usability of stem cells, because there's so many misconceptions out there. And there are so many families that miss the opportunity to do this that would have done it.
Yeah.
And again, they're either confused or they just don't know what options they have. It is an investment you make that your child will have for the rest of their life for another health resource, when maybe pharmaceuticals aren't working, or maybe they want to try it before pharmaceuticals. But it's just another tool in your pocket, your child's pocket, for really a low cost.
On the cost side, I mean, this feels like something you might want to even gift somebody.
Yes, we have a lot of grandparents that gift this to their child,
Yeah.
their grandchild.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking, is like, to let
Yeah.
the grandparents know about this. This is something that you want
Yeah.
to do, and you're already tapped because surrogacy is already so expensive.
Yeah.
But, like,
And one other thing I would like to add is people focus on the storage of this. Don't think about the storage, but think about the usability. You have the source, but if you can't use it
right.
because of either limitations or there's no technology there that allows you to use it, the storage, that defeats what you're doing. So you really we need to switch the thinking over to a usable, renewable source for that person. And I think if we can message that better, people would understand it better.
And insurance doesn't cover this because it's not, and you can't use your HSA necessarily.
You can.
Oh, you can use your HSA. Okay.
We have a lot of people that use our HSAs. What I tell families is that they might come back with saying we need a receipt, and maybe they won't cover something like this, but it does go through on our end. And then it's up to, I haven't had anyone come back saying, hey, that did not work.
Well, that's great. So that's 20% off then, potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good way to look at it. Free tax.
Yeah.
Free tax. One more thing I would like to add is it would be great if agencies and clinics built this into their educational protocol. Again, it's not a sales, it's not a push you to do it. It's all about education and everyone knowing what choices that they have. And from the agencies that I talk to, not very many people have them in the educational protocol. The ones that do are still only giving cord blood brochures out.
Okay. And I'm sure you have a bajillion materials that you are happy to provide to agencies so that they can put them in whatever information packets they're going out to.
And we don't expect anyone to do the education. There's a lot involved with this, and there's a lot of questions that IPs or expecting families have that can't be answered from agencies or even clinics. I mean, even the clinics, they don't know stem cells. That's not what they do. So we take on the educational piece of it. We just ask that you give the information. If they want to call us, they call us. We will educate them. If they decide to move forward, we will definitely be helping with all the logistical and making sure all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, so that everything goes as planned. And I would say a decision should typically be made about a month before delivery, because we do ship a collection kit out to the intended parents. Sometimes we ship one to the intended parents and the surrogate, depending on the situation. So that covers all bases, because that collection kit will be brought to the hospital at delivery. And so they don't keep them at the hospital. So it's the intended parents or surrogates' responsibility to get that kit at the time of
Oh, that's
delivery.
good to know. Okay, so they're bringing it to the hospital, and the hospitals are all used to this. Like, hey, here's my umbilical cord collection kit. They know what to do with
I've never heard of anyone not knowing what to do. There's full instructions inside these kits, but it's been around for 35 years. Whether it's a cord blood bank or a bank like VitalCells, a stem cell bank, the collection's the same.
it. Okay. Okay. And now, how do people get in touch with you if they want to learn more?
So typically, they can get my information on our website at vitalcells.com. I also offer educational resources to agencies, to clinics, to doula groups, to whoever's involved. My personal direct line is on the website. They can text me, they can call me, they can set up an appointment with me through that website.
Okay. And so this is for an agency owner. I'm like, this is just one more, very compassionate touch your journey managers or your case managers can give to an intended parent as they're getting closer to delivery. So
Yeah.
it feels like it's a win-win because you're right. It's not sales, it's education and it's options and choice. Just making sure people know what's available because I can imagine parents being mad at agencies if they find out about this 2 years after a child's birth and they're like, why didn't you tell me about it?
Yeah, I mean, I hear that a lot. I also hear, why did they just give me cord blood? Have you not tried to educate them? I actually tried to use the stem cells from a cord blood bank and I can't use them, but that is what was offered to me and now I can't use them. Had I known about you guys,
Right.
it would have been a different situation. One reason why I'm starting to get into the surrogacy field a little bit more is because it's a different feel than just an OBGYN clinic. Not that OBGYNs are great, but the surrogacy side of things is all about passion and education and making those connections and keeping those relationships. I have these relationships with the GCs and IPs for a long time.
Mhm.
I get pictures of the baby. So we form those relationships and so that we can be a resource and a contact for these people. And I feel like it's a good fit in this industry for us to focus on for a little bit to get this education out.
Yeah. Korbet, this has been again, mind-blowing, and I'm so grateful for you taking the time, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Well, I appreciate it, Erin, and thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for talking with me at Seeds, or this would have not happened.
Yeah,
So this is what it's all about,
this is, yeah.
right? Making those connections and getting education
Yes, so
out there
thank
to
you to
people.
these people that put that conference together because it's so fun to make connections like this.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening to The Future of Surrogacy. If you liked today's episode, send it to a friend or a colleague that should hear it. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn to keep up with new episodes and behind-the-scenes updates. And if there's a topic you want us to cover or someone you think we should talk to, reach out. We'd love to hear from you. We'll see you next time.